New York Times reports the White House is outraged that Netanyahu accepted the invitation, one official even slamming Israel's ambassador. The controversy is playing out on Capitol Hill along partisan battle lines. Nancy Pelosi says the address harms the chance of Congress passing new sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program. But House Speaker John Boehner is defending the invitation, saying the Israeli leader is taking on issues the White House would rather ignore.
Meanwhile, on the ground, Israel remains on edge a day after the deadly terror attack on its convoy by Hezbollah that killed 2 Israeli soldiers. Today, the border with Lebanon is quiet, but the attack is raising fears of a new all-out war between arch-enemies that could explode across the Middle East. Chris Wallace is the anchor of Fox News Sunday. Chris, thanks for being here. Why is the White House so upset about this invitation to Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, because I think their feeling is, look, the Israeli prime minister can say anything he wants about Iran, and he's going to be on a trip to the United States anyway to speak to AIPAC, which is the pro-Israeli lobby here in the United States, where he could certainly make a speech about the dangers of Iran. I think what they're concerned about is a feeling that Netanyahu may be siding with, this is the White House view, siding with Republicans and making this issue of Iran more political than it is a matter of geopolitics. They're upset about the fact that that Netanyahu accepted an invitation from Speaker Boehner, and also, I think especially, that they weren't notified about it beforehand.
The Speaker of the House has said, we are a co-equal branch of government to the White House, and we can do, with our house or houses as we please. Here's his exchange with Brett Baer on Special Report.
You surprised by the pushback about your invite of the Israeli Prime Minister to speak to Congress?
No, not really. I believe that the Prime Minister of Israel has a strong voice. He believes that the threat of the Iranians having a nuclear weapon is a very serious threat. The Israeli Prime Minister can also talk with some expertise about the growing threat of radical Islam. We've got a serious problem in the world, and the president just wants to act like it's going to just disappear.
As you know, Chris, the president says that he is trying to corral the Iranian issue and that he's very close to getting a deal with Iran, that the invitation to Netanyahu is only going to harm.
Well, interestingly enough, it clearly has backfired here in the United States, because there were a number of Democrats, 10 Democratic senators, who were talking about joining Republicans, and this is in the Senate, in passing a measure that would threaten very soon, threatening a measure that would threaten Iran with sanctions if they were to walk away or fail to make a deal. And those 10 Democratic senators have now said they're going to give the president until the end of March before they take any sanction action. And I think there's just a feeling that this issue, which is certainly a very serious one, I mean, in the case of Israel, it's an existential issue about the life and death of the country, whether Iran gets a nuclear weapon, but that it's becoming too political, and it's becoming, the Republicans against the White House. And I think that's the concern about this whole invitation, whether it has taken an issue of enormous international importance and made it too much of a domestic political issue.
So Democrats who might have been inclined to vote in favor of sanctions are thinking about or maybe openly expressing the idea that they would vote the other way just because of this invitation to Netanyahu?
What they're saying is that they will not vote for sanctions. They were talking about doing it right away. The sanctions wouldn't go into effect until a deal fell apart. The White House, of course, says if you even threaten sanctions, that's going to give the Iranians an opportunity or an excuse to walk away. They're now saying that they will wait till the end of March. There's a deadline on March 24th, by which point there's supposed to be some kind of a general agreement on a deal, not all the details, but the general outlines of a deal. They're now saying that they will not vote for sanctions until after that March 24th deadline, which means because you need 60 votes to get anything done in the Senate, they probably do not have the votes to pass that sanctions bill now.
Well, let's talk about another Senate vote, Chris, the Keystone Pipeline. That vote expected later today after weeks of contentious debate. Passing the bill might be a short-lived victory, since it would then head to the president's desk and face a long-threatened veto. I guess Mitch McConnell thinks that now he has the votes to pass it. Does he have the votes needed to override a veto?
The answer is yes to passing it, which means he has 60 votes, but no, from the latest word I've gotten on Capitol Hill, to the 67 votes, the super majority, he would need to sustain a veto. You know, I think the feeling on the part of the Republicans is it's a win-win. If the president were to change his mind, and I don't think he's going to, and to sign the bill to authorize Keystone, then they get a project that they think will be good for the country, will help our domestic, when I say domestic, North American, not necessarily U.S., because the oil is going to come from Canada, but North American energy independence, and also create, at least in the short term, up to 42,000 direct and related jobs. So if he signs it, that's good news. And if he vetoes it, it's a bill that has overwhelming support in the country. And one of the things the Republicans want to do is to show, yes, we can get business done in Capitol Hill, and it's the president, not the Republicans, who are the obstructionists here.
The voting expected later today. Chris Wallace, thank you.
You bet. Thanks, John.
Don't miss Chris on Fox News Sunday. This weekend, he has an exclusive interview with Texas Governor Greg Abbott and former Secretary of Education Bill Bennett. This one is all about Common Core education standards.